Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to the latest special episode of the Directed by Dean podcast and the 2024 Movie Challenge, aka The Reign of Samwise, which is like having an anal probe up your rectum. It'll hurt, it's unpleasant, and brings more misery the higher it goes. So as is tradition, just for tonight, I am Dean Paul. The only reason you'd look at me in spandex is because my ass would run rear of the year. And this is the Directed by Dean podcast, which doesn't require any knowledge of podcasts to follow. Now, as per usual, my brother in the podcasting multiverse, I prefer to think of him as the ever-wise Yank of the team, the man who has the best chance of putting his Hueness to shame when he turns 55. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Bauer, a.k.a. for one night only, Priest Paul.
I was trying so hard not to laugh at that intro.
I know.
That was amazing.
Well, Ryan Reynolds has kind of
rubbed
off on me a little bit. Speaking of which, he has actually rubbed off on me a little bit with Sam's. And finally, the dopinder of the podcast, the man who is to us what Green Lantern is to Ryan, and that's just what Ryan Reynolds himself thinks. Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Tattersall, a.k.a. Kid Paul.
I mean, I'm an adult, but you know.
But technically, you are the youngest, so you are technically a kid to us.
Yeah, I'm not the oldest. That doesn't mean you're OA people, does it?
Technically,
that's nice.
Well, Sam,
when
you eventually come to America, if it's within the next 3 years, you won't be able to drink. So, sorry.
Yeah,
make a fair point.
So, gentlemen, as Deadpool and Wolverine is out, how is life in the Directed by Dean podcast Deadpool Corp?
Well, I'm very happy that movie finally came out and got to see it, which I know we're going to discuss later. Life is good. Very, very busy for me, at least, but it's a good kind of busy. So I'd have it no other way.
So would I. How are we, Sam?
Oh, I'm fine. Just trying to watch more movies as always.
Yeah. Speaking of movies, the movie hall will be coming soon. But first, gentlemen, as always, the highest grossing movie challenge update. Now, we've all been to see Deadpool and Wolverine this week. It was finally out after however many months of waiting to go out. And you won't be too surprised to know that the opening weekend is actually the highest grossing movie weekend, not just for a rated R movie, but for the entire year. Whereas Inside Out 2's was, I believe, 294 million on opening weekend. This took 438.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, so literally we have contributed to this movie because we've all seen it on opening weekend. But then again, we're not biased or anything because we do actually have this in all of our lists. So that might be why. But so what does that mean for the top 10, gentlemen? Well, Inside Out 2, Sam, is now actually over $1.5 billion.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Despicable Me, now this has shocked me more than anything. This was, as soon as I saw this Monday morning, I was like, shit. This has actually happened. Despicable Me 4 last week was 574 million. This weekend just gone, it went to 677 million, which means it is, give or take a couple of million, 34 million away from overtaking Dune Part 2 as the second highest grossing movie of the year.
That's insane.
Yeah, I know. Garfield is actually been pushed down to 10th with 221 million. Majority of the changes are simply because Deadpool and Wolverine's here. But yeah, aside, the producers, mine and Joe's, aside from the Deadpool and Wolverine takings, are literally the same. So the movers and the shakers, gentlemen, no change in the top two yet. Like I said, Despicable Me 4 is still third. Like I said previously, only 34 million behind Dune Part 2, 711. Now, this is interesting. Bad Boys 4, albeit being in eighth because of Deadpool and Wolverine, is only $1.7 million behind Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Still shocked that movie did as well as it did.
I was thinking about it, but I was like, what if it doesn't go? But unfortunately, I think, Joe, this will be the year where you and I definitely have a what if year. It's like, what if we picked this? What if we weren't sure about this, but we picked it anyway? Still a bit of a shock. A Quiet Place Day 1 may have dropped to ninth, but it's actually took over $250 million at the box office.
Damn.
I know. And I did actually say that Garfield had now a top 10. It might be sooner than Sam would think because Whereas, obviously, Garfield's been quite comfy in the top 10 for, 2 months nearly? Twisters is very slowly spinning its way back up the order. It actually started out with 122 million on debut weekend, which was just above Civil War, my pick. But for somehow, it's actually jumped over Beekeeper, Bob Marley, Fall Guy, Furiosa, If, and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire into 11th, with 221.3 million at the time of obviously writing all this down. And Garfield has 221.8 million. So it's only half a mil behind. So Garfield might be out by this time next week. So firstly, Sam, $1.5 billion for your number one movie. How's that make you feel?
Yes, it's not a bad start, really, is it?
I'll be honest,
Sorry.
everyone. I actually thought he'd be boasting more than this, and he's actually been quite sedate, I would say.
Well, it seems to me like he's like I already knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, he is looking.
Well, I
even
did know it was
surprised.
going to happen.
That's
But my only thing is, I don't know how well Joker's going to do. After that's released, I'll know.
But to be honest
I
with you,
think Joker 2 is going to
Joker 2 will do well.
It's the only thing I'm scared of.
I finally saw the trailer. I mean, I saw it before our last podcast, but even when I saw Deadpool Wolverine, I saw a trailer for it. The film looks brilliant. It looks so good. And again, a sequel, especially to follow up a movie like Joker, is super risky, but already from what I'm seeing, it's going to be phenomenal.
Unfortunately, my summer starts this upcoming week with Borderlands. No idea how much that's going to do. I'm not expecting it to do great, but
Coming out this Friday?
Yes, I believe it's out this Friday.
Oh, it's not going to do very well against Deadpool.
It's going to compete against a fresh Deadpool Wolverine.
But then again, Twister's made 100 mil on the same weekend Deadpool Wolverine opened, so all bets are off, chaps.
So that means everybody that saw Twister and not Deadpool Wolverine is going to see Deadpool Wolverine.
Maybe. But it's not out. I think it's out this Friday, but fortunately, as Inside Out 2 has proven, it doesn't need to be a great hit on opening weekend to still do well. So the update on our movies as such, Inside Out obviously still top, Dune Part 2 is still second, but for how long? Despicable Me 4 is third, Deadpool and Wolverine is sixth on the table, but I give it either next week or week after, it will have probably overtook Dune, and then it will be hunting down Inside Out 2. Kingdom of Planet of the Apes is seventh, and Garfield, as we've already aware, is 10th. So, gentlemen, and this is actually quite weird because for the first time since, I think, March, Joe doesn't have the same total as he's had for the last 4 months. And I don't have the same total for about 3 weeks. So, and Sam's going to be super, super smug right now. Sam, as always, is first with 2.843 billion. There we go, for smugness.
Oh, it's going straight into the 3 billion. I could end on 4 billion.
I think with Mufasa being left, I think that might be a bit of a stretch. But I would happily take 3.5 because I actually think that is possible now.
I saw that trailer recently again because it was in the Deadpool Wolverine part of the trailers. I wish it was animated. I really wish it was in live action. I still think it's going to do pretty good, but man, animated in the same style as a Lion King, getting a Mufasa origin movie, that would have been amazing.
It would have been. Deadpool and Wolverine is obviously 6th, Kingdom of Planet of the Apes is 7th, and Garfield is 10th. Oh, mind you, I've been through that, haven't I? So yeah, the producer is actually second with 1.68 billion. Sorry, 1.684 billion. Now, Joe, for the first time, I can actually say we have fresh totals. So for the first time this year, I'm over $1 billion with 1.272 billion. And for the first time in months, our dear Joseph is not on 812 million. He's actually on 1.250 billion. So there we go, boys. And to the producer, obviously, we've all crossed $1 billion. So that was actually the one thing I actually wanted to be over. I did actually want to be over $1 billion more than anything. So there's that relief. However, obviously, the movies we've got left. Deadpool and Wolverine's out now, so Sam only has Mufasa left. Me and Joe both have Joker. I have Borderlands out this week. He has Lord of the Rings movie in December. The producers' ones, as soon as Deadpool and Wolverine are done, her total will be finalised. So, As always, everyone, stay tuned to the podcast weekly for updates to see whether it be me, Joe, or the producer, which will have a proctoscopic exam with Sam as our doctor.
Damn.
He would enjoy it so much more if it was me.
I don't think I'd enjoy that in general, to be honest.
If it was Joe, he'd be heartbroken.
I'm very.
No, he would be heartbroken, not you. It would be him. So with that being said, gentlemen, has anyone got any news this week? I actually don't have as much because I actually thought the topic this week would more than likely take us a while. But even if
I actually have a decent amount of news today, and the first one I'm going to say before you, Dean, because I know this is news to everybody, and it's the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is back in the MCU. But obviously, as we all know, not as his traditional Tony Stark Iron Man self. He's been cast as Doctor Doom. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Bit conflicted.
Mm-hmm. I am as well. Sam, what do you think?
Oh, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah, because no one's doubting Downey Jr.'s ability as an actor. Like, do I think he can do it? Absolutely, because he's brilliant. The only problem is Robert Downey Jr. not only was the best Tony Stark, but he is so iconic as Tony Stark. And with rumors swirling about that he'll be appearing as Iron Man again in Secret Wars, which is coming out, I believe, in 2027.
Is
he's going to also be Doctor Doom. Now, I personally think that this was a desperate Hail Mary by Marvel to try to bring more viewers back, since their viewership has been on the decline since Endgame. Deadpool Wolverine definitely is going to bring more eyes to it, but I think just having Downey Jr. back in the MCU, even in another role, is still leaving his legacy as Iron Man intact, because you're not reviving the character. But I think it's their idea to try to bring in more eyes. Although, having said that, I think they could have easily found someone else to play Doctor Doom. I think they should have, to give in someone else that main spotlight. But I love Robert Downey Jr., so I'm excited to see what he does. But it's going to be weird seeing him in a Marvel role that's not Iron Man.
But then again, if they go from the comic book storyline where technically Iron Man was actually Doctor Doom and Doctor Doom was actually Iron Man, then that could be plausible. But I don't mind having a Victor Von Doom, because I've wanted one that would actually work. The problem is every single Victor Von Doom, aside from voiceover for like animation, hasn't really worked out well. Julian McMahon, no offense, he's good in Charmed. He's not a good Victor Von Doom. He has the look of a Victor Von Doom, as in, Victor Von Doom's wealthy and he can flaunt everything. But he's not the Victor Von Doom that we need. Same with Toby Kebbell. I like Toby Kebbell as an actor, but I don't think he has good acting chops, but I don't think that was the acting chops that was required for that role. You need someone who has a menacing voice. I mean, I take it you two have seen 90s animated Fantastic Four.
Of course.
And do you remember the second one who voiced Victor Von Doom? I don't know the name, but you do remember the voice, don't you?
Voice was iconic.
Yeah, you need someone like that. And we're talking about the sort of voice, kind of like Robert Downey Jr., actually. But the problem is, Robert Downey Jr. will forever be known as Iron Man, and the only reason he's Doctor Doom is because that version of Iron Man became Doctor Doom.
I think so, but then how would they do that? Because the Fantastic Four movie is set in the 60s. So, as we know, because when they went back in time to get the stones, I believe it was the mid-70s when Tony Stark in the MCU met his father. And at the time, Howard Stark's wife was pregnant with Tony Stark. So we know that Tony Stark in the MCU timeline was born in the mid-70s. So if they do that Iron Man Doctor Doom route, which could work, how would it work if the Fantastic Four is set in the 60s?
I'm beginning to think that it's an alternate timeline. I'm beginning to think that the Victor Von Doom that will be played by Robert Downey Jr. might be a variant where he doesn't actually meet the Fantastic Four. That's what I would go with.
given, especially with what we've seen, Deadpool and Wolverine, which we're going to talk about again later, and that this entire MCU, so far, the second saga has been definitely a multiverse saga. That wouldn't surprise me if they just set it in a different universe. And then for Secret Wars, they just bring everyone together. It's like, oh, I'm a different guy. You know, I can easily see them doing that. Although I know it's definitely played out. Marvel's been doing it so much in this last phase, but what I love about this multiverse saga is they're making sense out of all their failed movies. At least they're giving them justice.
But yeah, I totally agree that this week's of desperation.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's they need to do something to bring audiences back because most of their films since Endgame have lost them money because they haven't garnered the box office revenue that they wanted and probably the merchandise sales that they would have wanted too.
Well, the only reason they actually did, which was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which took nearly 900 mil.
Then, I was going to say Guardians 3, Spider-Man No Way Home. Other than those
do we say Far From Home as well?
Oh, wait, was it No Way Home or Far
From Home? I would count Far From Home as well.
Yeah, so basically two movies that feature a superhero that Marvel doesn't even have the IP for, and obviously one that basically was saying goodbye to James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Joe, did you forget the title of the next Avengers movie has been renamed?
Oh, Doomsday?
Doomsday.
Something like that? Yeah. And that was a pivot. That was supposed to be something about Kang, but...
Yeah. In fact, while you
throw another kink into Disney,
see if there's a Doomsday comic, which I imagine there will be.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be, obviously, Doctor Doom's going to be the main villain of that. So it's going to be interesting to see Downey Jr. as a villain in the next Avengers movie, which is releasing, gosh, let me see, 6 years after Endgame, and after a very disappointing Phase 4. So very, very curious to see. I think these next two Avengers movies, regardless, are going to garner a couple $1 billion because everyone's just curious to see what they're going to do. I think based on the rumors that we heard of Secret Wars, easily going to be a $2 to $3 billion film. Like not cost, obviously, but like in box office. But yeah, bringing Downey Jr. back in that role, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Just looking at what I found on screen, Ryan, it says, the film's title hints at an intricate storyline involving multiversal threats and familiar faces turning evil, tying into future movies and previous comic book runs. Doomsday may reference a Marvel Comics event, suggesting a complex narrative with potential ties to the Secret War storyline, which I've actually got in here. In 2011, a 12-issue comic run was released by Marvel Comics styled Ultimate Comics Doomsday. In this, the remaining members of the Fantastic Four teamed up with other Marvel superheroes in the Ultimate Marvel Universe to uncover the identity of a mysterious villain who is hell-bent on destroying the timeline. Eventually, it is uncovered that the villain is actually Reed Richards, spoiler alert, from the Ultimate Marvel Universe, who has been driven to villainy by past trauma. In this run of comics, Reed is affected by a previous one called Ultimatum, as well as his breakup with Sue and death of his parents. Although it was later revealed that Reed orchestrated the death of his parents, he continues his path under evil tendencies under the name The Maker. But basically, the Avengers kick his ass. So yeah, this looks to be what it's actually being referenced in. But if that's how it's going to be, there's plenty of potential. But the only thing is, how many Victor Von Dooms are we going to be seeing in Avengers 5? Because no offense, but you could have anyone play Doctor Doom. You could even get the previous one actors who's played Victor Von Doom and get them to think that.
Which I'm sure they're going to do.
But I think that the other problem with that is, who do we know that could play Victor Von Doom? I must admit, I don't really know of anyone else. I'm sure there is someone somewhere. I mean, for instance, I could probably say Ewan Mitchell from House of the Dragon, simply by his voice, which is quite menacing. But
we're talking about people other than Downey Jr., obviously, right? Yeah.
Probably Evan Mitchell, but honestly, I think he's young. He does actually sound a bit menacing. I mean, his character in House of a Dragon. Oh, do you know what? I forget his name now. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to watch House of a Dragon afterwards. I've totally forgotten his name. every single House of a Dragon fan who's listening to this is probably screaming it at me. But yeah, if you watch House of the Dragon, it's
I thought you were going to say Game of the Dragon for a
yeah. To
second.
be fair, you could actually. But yeah, he does actually have quite a deep voice, and he is quite menacing. And to be honest with you, he does actually show a bit of humanness in him, which I know Victor Von Doom in the past and in the animated TV show has done. But yeah, he's just one off the top of my head. Aside from that, I can't really think of anyone. I mean,
I almost said, it's funny because this came to mind, but I don't think so in the long run. I almost said Jeffrey Dean Morgan, but I don't think so.
He's got the menacing chops, but
he does.
It would, I think. Well, the only other option is to do what we did with Rise of the Silver Surfer, which is have a body double play him and then have someone else voice him, like we did with Silver Surfer, which was his movements were done by Doug Jones and he was voiced by Lawrence Fishburne. So unless you were going to do it that way, Sam's got. You know, we're not in class, mate. You don't have to put your finger up.
Yeah, but I don't want to ruin the flow that you've got. I'd pick Viggo Mortensen as a Victor Von Doom.
That'd actually be very good.
He's a bit on the older side, because obviously he had a very younger version in Fan Four Stick. I'd go with Viggo.
He's wanting the King of Minas Tirith.
I'm assuming that's Lord of the Rings.
Yes, it is, yes.
I am too. I've never seen Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, you're the two people you shouldn't have made that reference to.
Yeah.
We're Sam and I were just staring like...
we can guess where that's from. Not got a clue what I mean there.
This is coming from one of the guys who's going to be watching The Godfather for 6 hours, but he has not seen a single
7. Actually, 7.
Oh, I thought it was 6. Oh well, never mind. But
apparently
yeah,
it's 7.
If you can watch that, you can watch all 3 Lord of the Rings movies. The only thing I would
I tried. Okay, so my friends in college, as soon as they found out I didn't see Lord of the Rings, they're like, "This is a sin. You need to see these movies." So I was like, "Okay, sure, So we organized a whole day to watch Lord of the Rings, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna do the extended editions." And I said,
"You don't want that."
Said, "Can we just do the theatrical editions? And if I like it, I'll go back to it." They're like, "No, you got it. The extended editions are the best. It's this, it's that. It's so good. You got to watch it." I was so bored that first hour. They had to keep me awake. I said, "Guys, they're still in this stupid village. Nothing happened." And then all I remember, I'm like, "Guys, I'm going to leave. I'm so bored. This is the worst idea on earth. It's a Saturday. It's beautiful outside. I'm not wasting my day."
I'm glad you didn't say this is the worst idea on Hobbit Earth, because then they probably would have got you to stay. No, seriously. The thing is, was that from the Fellowship or was that Two Towers?
It was the first Lord of the Rings, whichever title that is.
The thing is, the Fellowship, I will admit, because I've seen all the Lord of the Rings movies. I've seen Return of the King, I've seen Two Towers, I've seen Fellowship, I've seen all 3 Hobbit movies. And to be honest with you, the best stuff doesn't start until Two Towers anyway. Not to mention,
it just drags on. It's so long.
I will admit, it does drag along.
I was like, I'm so bored.
Because it's all one story as well. You get a third of the way through. It takes 3.5 hours, and that's just one bit of it.
But you see, the thing is, in Two Towers, to split off into different parts, because obviously you have Frodo and Sam with the ring. You have who else? Hold on a minute. Who else said? Obviously, you have everything that all Sauron's forces. Oh yeah, don't forget you have Christopher Lee as well.
I love Christopher Lee, and I remember I would see like footage. Sometimes they post on Instagram because apparently Sean Bean was afraid of helicopters. The only way to get to set was to I don't know if you guys know this. The only way to get to the Lord of the Rings set was like a 30-minute helicopter ride or a 20-minute helicopter ride. So they would get in a wardrobe at base camp, and then they would all fly up to set. But Sean Bean, being afraid of helicopters, hiked 2 hours every single day, dressed as Boromir to set. And there's footage of like them on the camera, like up there, Sean hiking as Boromir up a mountain to set.
I wonder if that's what that meme was created for. You know, when the whole one does simply not. I wonder if that was actually one does not simply chopper to set. One must hike.
No, I love Sean Bean for many reasons, that being one of them. But yeah, I know we definitely segued into a completely different topic.
Yeah. Seriously, Joe, don't even bother with Fellowship. Watch Two Towers and then Return of the King. Return of the King, I will say, kind of drags a bit more than Two Towers. but there is a lot more action. I mean, Helm's Deep fight itself must be about an hour itself, but it's good.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm not doubting that, because obviously the Oscars speak for itself too, but it's like, man, to get to that point, like I loved watching Clerks 2 when they're debating Lord of the Rings versus Star Wars, because Kevin Smith's a big Star Wars fan. Always makes me laugh because I'm a Star Wars nerd.
I noticed. Anything else, Joe?
Oh, news-wise? Yeah. You guys aren't going to believe this. So after SDCC, and actually I was talking to my good old buddy Kevin Porter this morning.
How is it, Kev?
Kevin's doing great. I'm so happy for him. He has his baby girl is I think almost a year old now.
Oh God,
crazy.
So when is Batman officially officiating Helena Kyle into the Bat family?
I don't know. But you guys are gonna laugh because I looked up because we were talking about it. Apparently, and I'm hoping it's true because I don't want to be called a liar here. As of this morning, and according to online, you both can look it up right now. Legend of the White Dragon is set to release September 4th.
I will. Now, Joe, bear in mind you actually had Legend of the White Dragon as your movie choice, and you swapped it.
I did.
So you'll forgive me if I take. Don't get me wrong. I trust Kev.
Well, no. Kevin didn't tell me when it was releasing. We were talking about it, and I looked it up online.
And it says September.
I didn't even know that it was coming out the 4th. I said, "Do you know that White Dragon's coming out the 4th?" He's like, "No, it's not." And then he looked it up. It's like, yeah, it says September 4th.
It also says September 4th, 2023.
Yeah,
I don't know if you looked at the wrong year.
Yeah.
It said 24 on mine.
I think in fairness, I will reserve judgment until September 4th. That's the only thing I can say because I even interviewed you, Joe, last year about it, thinking it was going to be released this year, and it hasn't been.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, hold on.
I know, to be fair, there is.
It says December 6th, 2024.
Well, I found another source which says September 4th, 2024. So there's a few.
That's the one I saw.
Well,
I swear, I'm like, I saw something with September 2024. Now, it's so weird. This morning it said September 4th, 2024. Now it says December 6th.
Who knows Aaron Schonke? Because he's the only guy who really knows when it's coming.
I have his number. I can message him.
I'll tell you what, consider this a challenge, Joe. If you can text him and see what his answer is by the end of the podcast.
Wonderful. You got to keep in mind, in LA, it's 9:46.
Oh, it's all right. He's probably been to the gym since then.
Probably, and had some donuts and burgers. That guy can eat whatever he wants and not gain an ounce. I'll send him a text. We'll see. But I have my own guesses, my own very educated guesses, and reasons for why this film took so long. I don't know if it's worth a discussion now or if it's worth a discussion after the film comes out to see if I was right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll leave that up for you, Dean, if you want to do that on a future episode or this episode. But I have my own hypothesis. And it's a very damn good hypothesis, too.
Okay.
Yeah. So, oh, damn. I don't know if I should say why or not.
Are you going to get slapped on the wrist if you do?
No.
There you go. There's your answer.
All right. Okay. It's going to be, screw it. Yeah, because why not? Okay. Aaron Schonke is a director. Aaron Schonke is the editor. And Aaron Schonke is one of the lead actors of White Dragon. When you are doing that, and this is arguably the biggest project he's ever done with the most money. When you are all of that, wearing all the hats, you have the bonus of editing yourself. The editor, if he had an outside editor, isn't going to tell you if your performance is shitty or if something doesn't look right or if whatever. They're just going to edit what was given to them and say, okay, this is what they got. My prediction, because I was there for some of these reshoots, I think he edited the footage and realized that his performance was shitty and that he didn't like what he saw for a lot of scenes. And he found a producer that has an endless bank account that will give him the money because it's for Jason and they want to make it the best it can be, which I'll admit, I even think that they're milking it, if I'm speaking brutally and honest here. And on one of the reshoot days, it was literally doing nothing but reshooting scenes that we shot with Aaron, except instead of it being on location in the mansion, it was on a green screen.
Yeah.
To me, says, oh, I think he was editing, realized his performance was shitty. He's going to redo this. Also, this is me being bluntly and factually here. I know we definitely sidebar.
You are being bluntly as a podcast host, not as a member.
All right, as a podcast host, because you got to be, you know. The film was completely 100% wrapped. It was done. There's footage out there somewhere of even Jason David Frank saying that's a picture wrap on White Dragon, which I believe was June
a while ago,
2021. We're now in 2024. Yes, Jason passed. Yes, I know that you have to close some open-ended questions. But even that should not have taken 3 years. Because you think of everything that's come out since then. There's only so much of the pandemic you can blame because we filmed during the pandemic. We filmed during 2021. So you can't really blame the pandemic because we filmed during the whole thing. And there's only so much of Jason's death you can blame because everything was shot before he died. So it's like, even for me, being an actor in it and being behind the scenes of it, I'm like, what is taking so long? And I know even fans, to a certain point, they're like, when is this film coming out? Because that's why, my brutally honest opinion, I think it's because he's, again, when you have the benefit of editing yourself, you can do reshoots. And when you have an unlimited bank account, you can do it. You can stretch it out as long as you want to garner hype. The only problem is he stretched it out so much that the hype, I'm going to compare this like Kingdom Hearts 3. This film now has to be Avengers Endgame level good.
Yeah, if you delay
because of the hype.
Yeah, simply because as well, it's like you leave a film on a cutting room floor, or say in a script bin, or in developmental hell, or free. It's a case of, is this ever going to get made? I mean, I think you and I have had conversations about, will this ever be released?
Yeah.
And unfortunately now, for me, the release has been moved that many times that whenever there is a new announcement date for it, I'm just thinking, yeah, that's what we said last time, and the time before that, and the time before that.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, you're losing trust of your fan base. You're losing trust of people that back this project. You're not giving them a guarantee and hiding under the guise of, it's for Jason. It's to honor his memory. But again, there's only so much of that you can do until, I mean, even some fans are like, you guys are milking this. And I get it. I want the film to be as best as it can be for Jason. And I would understand if we weren't wrapped before Jason died. Not only were we wrapped for, gosh, hold on, let me see. Over 6 months after he died, meaning you shot everything you need with him, who was the center character of the story. And I mean, even account, let's say, for like reshoots the following year because he died, to tie up loose ends, there's no excuse why the film shouldn't have came out tail end of 2022. And it would have been so beautiful, the year of Jason's death anniversary, release his final film to the world. But here we are 3 years later.
And still talking about it.
Still talking about it. And Sam and I, we just looked online. We found 3 different supposed release dates. I just think it's going to be way overhyped and it's going to underdeliver. Yeah. I hope that's not the case. But having been on set and seeing what I saw and seeing what's happening, even as a professional, and I'm not the only one that thinks this, by the way, I'm like, I just don't know what their thought process is with this. And because I think the film's going to come out. And yeah, it's going to be a good film, memory for Jason, but it's going to be like, this is what took this long. I hope I'm wrong.
So do I.
But yeah, I mean, even just now finding out that there was like 4 or 5 different release dates out there, I'm like, my gosh, like, it's insane.
I don't mean to sound bad about Aaron Shonky, because I have actually interviewed him before. He's a lovely chap. I remember first time I saw him, there was like Iron Man helmets, there was comics in the background. I'm like, oh my God, I've just woken up in geek heaven.
I've been to Aaron's place, and yeah, it's like a mini like Comic-Con booth. Like
It
you're
is
walking in.
actually,
Yeah, and like,
it is.
like I got nothing but praises to say about the Bat and the Sun guys. Such nice people,
I've watched.
wonderful people.
I'm gonna say I've watched a load of their superpower beatdowns, love them to pieces. I still watch
Mhm.
them, but the problem is they stopped doing them, and it was kind of like, yeah, I really need more. It's kind of like, not to sound a bit around professional or anything, but it's like having an adrenaline fix. Once you have it, you just want more and more. That's what superpower beatdown is.
Well,
But
you know, for me, like when you look at it from like an industry point of view, I saw them as like leveling up because the beatdowns phenomenal.
they
That's
are.
what put them on the map. And I think they even made an announcement saying we're done with beatdowns because they got Valiant, which was a really good feature film.
Mm.
And then they had Legend of the White Dragon. So it's like, okay, Bat in the Sun has now moved up. Not to say like, not to disregard the beatdowns at all, but it's like now we can do feature films. We can do stuff that's going to last forever, be remembered forever, feature films that's going to put them on the mat to rival Marvel, rival DC. And White Dragon was I mean, Valiant was their first crack at it. They nailed it, but sadly, that was around the time that Sony acquired the Valiant Comics copyright. So there was a whole issue there. But White Dragon is their first big one. And they have a lot of eyes on them, which I know adds to the pressure of seeing how they're going to deliver it. And the fact that we're going to have the next Avengers movie, I pretty much like a year after White Dragon, when you can argue that Avengers probably was going to be in development and film for less time than White Dragon did, kind of says a lot. And yet, there's only so much of the pandemic and Jason's death that you can blame before it's like, what's really going on here?
Mm.
What's the real issues?
Not being funny, Joe, but if I said to you that Wolverine and Predator Superpower Beatdown had 33 million views, would you consider that worth ending?
Oh, that's yeah, of course.
Or even Joker and Harley versus Deadpool and Domino, that's got 27 million views. My
Mhm.
favorite one, and I do actually, this is actually no word of a lie, I do genuinely love this one. Batman versus Darth Vader, the alternate ending one, has actually got 19 million views.
That's everyone's favorite. I think
That is one
it
of
was
my favorites as
it
well.
was that one, and then I think it was when they actually got Jason back for a Green Ranger versus Ryu.
Yep,
That that's what initially drew me to them. And then it was by happen chance that I was working at the same gym as Kevin Porter and recognized him that sparked our friendship. So yeah, it's like you cannot deny, like, yeah, they're amazing at what they do, but it's like one of those situations where you see like the power and the fame and the thing goes to somebody's head. And
Mm.
like, again, there's no excuse why this film should have taken this long. There's none.
I think the other thing is the momentum's been killed.
Oh, 100% the momentum has been killed.
It was like, yeah, I really want this released. Oh, it's having reshoots. Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. It's been delayed. Oh God. Then it's been delayed again. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like there's only so much of that you can do before you lose most of your audience. And even though this is Jason's last film, and I know a lot of people will see it, but I think a lot of people are just over it. Because
Yeah,
like when you look up Legend of the White Dragon, you scroll down, one of the first things you see is this film actually ever coming out? And that's
yeah.
bad. That's bad. And again, for a film that picture wrapped in 2021, yes, even though losing your lead actor, there's no excuse why by the tail end of 22 or early 2023, this film shouldn't have came out. Unless if you're literally trying to delay it and milk it for as much as you can.
I'll tell you what, should we make a bet on this, considering what's the release dates are supposed to be September 4th?
We saw September 4th, 2024 and December 6th, 2024.
December 6th. Right, so who thinks it's coming out on what day? I am just going to say neither of those. It's going to be in 2025.
I'm going to go with December.
So are you going
I'm back in Dean here.
Joe, he doesn't agree with me on anything. He's agreed with me on this. Take that as a hint. He's right.
I know. I know.
Right. So,
all right. No, that's a huge segue. But yeah. I have just one more bit of news.
Go on, Em.
Then I'm done. Isn't it weird this time, Dean? I'm taking up all the news.
That's all right. I haven't really got that much anyway. Well, compared to my usual.
So this is something that I had to bring up, that I had to say, because When I found out about it literally like last night, I was beyond outraged and blown away. You guys have heard about the Paris Olympics controversy, right? With
I
the
already
Last
know what this
Supper.
is going to be.
He knows what it's going to
Yeah.
be. I haven't really been watching it, although I have an idea what it might be.
I haven't watched it. I haven't seen it because I'm not a big sports fan. So Paris Olympics came out, I'm like, cool, whatever. But last night, we were talking. It was my mother's birthday. She's like, "Oh, can you believe about the Paris Olympics? What they try to do with the Last Supper?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Show me the picture. And even though they released articles saying they in no way meant to replicate the Last Supper, you know what you're doing. They had a bunch of the transgender drag queen gay athletes mocking the Last Supper, which, for those of you that don't know, that was the final meal before Christ was crucified.
Oh, they did not.
And yes, and
Oh,
it sparked so much controversy because here we are in an age in 2024 where you can be offended at anything, make an offense at anything. Somebody disagrees with you.
you could breathe and you defend someone.
Exactly. You say something slightly wrong, you're a racist, homophobic, whatever. But for some reason, when you express being offended about faith, if something offends your religious views, nobody bats an eye. So I'm so glad that there's so much outrage being broadcasted out there that so many people are discussing their disdain for what was done. Mel Gibson, I read, made a post. He said he started to not support the Olympics when a biologically born male athlete won the women's swimming. But he said, who in their right mind would dare to replicate the Last Supper and disrespect my faith like this? I couldn't have said it better myself.
I'm being honest. I didn't know what the Last Supper was. I knew what the picture was, but I
Yeah.
didn't know what it was called. But basically, if nobody knows what it is, it was a painting by Leonardo da Vinci.
It
And
was a
basically,
painting by Da Vinci that was supposed to replicate the last dinner that Jesus had with his disciples before he was crucified. A very symbolic dinner where Jesus broke the bread and said, This is my body that you'll eat. This is my blood which you drink. A very, very one of the most holiest moments in our time, in our history. And the Paris Olympics chose to mock it by having gay athletes, transgender athletes, and drag queens. I'm like, hey, you be what you want. I don't care. Just don't offend me or my faith, and I'm good. And here they are
doing it.
making a mockery of Christ. So I don't take offense easily or get offended easily, but I am. Sam's got something to say.
No, you see, here's the thing. There's a lot of people out there comparing it instead to the feast of, I don't know how to say this. He's the Greek god of festivities, Dionysius, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's this complete other painting. However, I get that point. Obviously, it's based off the fact that Olympics was originally formed in Greece. However, if you look at what they did and then the photo of the Last Supper, it does seem a lot more like the Last Summer painting than the Feast of the Gods painting, which I understand why people are saying it was this other painting, but if they know what they're doing, they can clearly look at that and say, well, this actually looks a bit more like the Last Supper. Like if they had made it clearly more like the other painting, it wouldn't have probably caused as much outrage. But it's the fact that they are all lined up and it looks a lot more similar to the Last Supper than this alleged photo that it's based off, where it kind of crosses the line a bit, where you're getting Christians involved in something that even if you've not intended of getting Christians involved, you indirectly have because it looks a lot more similar to that.
Yeah, this is how easily you can piss someone off by breathing. This is just worse.
It is, and it's something that didn't have to be done. And if they were initially doing the Dionysius painting, however you pronounce that,
yeah,
then
that's actually right.
That's something that should be made very obvious from the beginning in order not to make a mockery or make fun of people's faith or make fun of Christians and Catholics. But the fact that you have to say, oh, no, we were doing this, we didn't do that's like, no. Like, even objectively, if you look at the picture and a painting of the Last Supper, you can see. It's actually the first time I posted something on my social media about it because I don't like to get involved with politics. I'm like, hey, everyone's got their own opinions. I stay out, but I'm like, no. It's like for my faith, something I will proudly stand up for. And when I see it being disrespected like this, it's something I will always defend. And it's just a mockery. And it's tragic. But I'm so glad that so many Christians and Catholics and people of all walks of faith are coming together and voicing their disdain for what just happened.
I really like to speak to the person who thought that was a good idea to begin with, and then I would simply go to them and say, "Are you fucking mad?"
Yeah.
Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time of idiots rather than sane thinking people.
I mean, there's billions of Christians. If you look at that, there's a high percentage of the population that's going to look at that and see the Last Supper compared to this bit more obscure feast of, I'm not even going to pronounce his name. So they walked right into it, really. Like there's probably there's not as many people that's going to realize what their intention is. Really, it's on them.
Yeah,
they knew what they were doing, and I don't know if this is the outcome that they wanted, but yeah, they knew full well what they were doing.
Should we move it on, chaps?
Yeah.
Have you got any news, Sam?
I've said my piece.
No. The news has already lasted about 40 minutes so far.
Yeah, so far. I'll make it brief then. I'm going to make Sam smile now. Inside Out 2 is now officially the highest grossing animated movie in movie history, and it surpassed Frozen 2 last weekend. And
perfect.
Hold on, I'm not finished yet. It's also the animated movie to make $1 billion the quickest.
Yeah, again, even more perfect.
But this is what makes it more impressive, and I actually did look at this on yesterday. The fact that the international takings for Inside Out 2 is more than the entire box office taking of the original Inside Out.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's what shocked me the most. Just going to do this very quickly. I know you two aren't really bothered about basketball, but for me, it's a big deal. Next season's NBA games, I don't know if they mean this season's coming or the seasons after, are not being broadcast on TNT anymore. They're being aired on Sky Sports with Prime Video offering additional coverage and behind-the-scenes content. Apparently, TNT only signed a new deal last year or the year before, and what's been signed is an 11-year rights deal that's between the NBA and NBC, Universal, and Sky, and they're both owned by Comcast, who we all know owns, obviously, Universal. And apparently NBC Universal will distribute all USA basketball seniors, men's and women's national games internationally. The thing is, women's basketball is now on the rise. I seem to remember one match was actually got more views than the World Series final and what else was it? The NBA finals as well. I wasn't going to say the Super Bowl because nothing would ever beat that. So the good news, chaps, my Sunday nights just got a hell of a lot better. But there is a quandary. With the money that they didn't use to make sure the rights still went to TNT, how much of that money can go towards David Zaslav's Christmas bonus? Bearing in mind he was once paid $500 million as a Christmas bonus once.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, if it means anything, what's his name? Who is it who owns Netflix?
I
think they both got 400 million in the last bonus pockets. Bob Iger got something like 200 mil. Yeah, you see, we're in the wrong profession, chaps. We shouldn't be in podcasting. We should be in running a major movie or TV studio.
That's crazy.
It is.
As a Christmas bonus to give that much to write off.
Maybe you can direct it towards DC and try and not try anything off as a tax break. So I'm not going to go into this too much because it will give me a headache and it's not my forte. Regal owns Cineworld. There's Regal Cinemas in America, isn't there, Joe?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, Regal owns Cineworld, kind of like AMC own Odeon over here. I'll be honest, the future's not looking bright, and they've had to close, or they're closing 6 theatres in Glasgow, Bedford, Hinckley, Loughborough, Yate, and Swindon Circus. It's unfortunate, but apparently they've said they're going to try and get all staff there rearranged as quickly as they can. The problem is, it's been since the pandemic has shut down a lot of businesses. It's put Cineworld in the crap, and it's not really been looking great. But I will say one thing: there is actually a few Cineworlds near where Sam and I live. There's one in Sheffield, one in Nottingham, one in Chesterfield, And obviously, you have the two main ones in London, which is Leicester Square, where the premieres happen. They're not going to get rid of that. And the O2 Arena in Greenwich, which is where basically you get all the big concert goers. So summertime balls, where you can have, say, Dua Lipa. She's not doing the stadium tour. But yeah, not going to go too much into it, but I just hope that all the staff there do actually get placed with other Cineworlds, because I've actually been in a few Cineworlds. Staff are great. If you employ the right staff, they will actually make your movie experience enjoyable. And every Cineworld I've been to, the staff has been top notch. So I generally hope that nothing closes, because they shouldn't close and they shouldn't lose great staff. But that's what I'm going to say in it. One more thing, gentlemen. It's actually coming on to the topic what we're going to be talking about soon. Alien Romulus is out in 2 weeks, and I don't know how you two feel about it, but I feel, for me, it's make or break for the franchise. If this doesn't do well, then they should stop. And I will be going into that a bit more on the topic. However, there will be many mysteries in the movie, but apparently there will be one mystery in the movie that won't be solved. Now, with that being said, the movie is released on August 16th, but what I found out this week, that is on October 16th, just in time for Halloween, there will be a one-shot prequel Marvel comic simply entitled Alien Romulus #1, which will be written by Zach Thompson, and the art will be done by Daniel Picciotto. Marvel say the comic will be an illuminating backstory behind the film's main threat. So it's either the aliens or Raylan Yutani. And what makes this even more interesting is the comic is being done, quote, in close partnership with Fede Alvarez, Alien Romulus' director, and one of the co-writers of the movie, Rodo Segus. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name anyway, so I butchered it, so I do apologize. So making sure it's as accurate as possible. Thompson is being quoted as saying the Alien franchise is responsible for my lifelong love of body horror. So needless to say, I'm ecstatic to be contributing to a small piece to the canon. Working with Fede Alvarez to craft a prequel to Alien Romulus was a genuine dream come true, and a responsibility I don't take lightly. The result is a thrilling, terrifying story that slowly gestates into something wholly unpredictable. I know you're a comic book collector, Joe, but if you did want it, there's 2 editions coming. One with a cover from, and I've never heard of these guys, I'll be honest, I'm going to apologize for butchering the names. Lenil Francis, and the other cover is being done by Bjorn Barendez on October 16th. So yeah, you get a limited release comic, and you have 2 editions.
Man, I haven't bought comics in so long.
If I can find it, I will actually own it, because it's not very often you get a comic with a movie tie-in. Usually it's, comic book stories are done and then the movies are based off it. And
it's an interesting idea, for sure.
And it's a case of you don't usually have a film's director who actually works closely for a comic book series as well.
It is cool because you can expand the story a lot in that, if I was still actively collecting comics like I used to, I probably would jump on that, because you got to also think, even as an investment, 30 years down the road, it's going to be worth a lot.
I might, when the summer's over, I might go and see if Forbidden Planet in London has any. Forbidden Planet is probably, I won't say it's the only place where you can get comic books, but it's actually probably one of the only ones that I know. And
I got to take you guys to Midtown Comics in the city.
So with that being said, chaps, news is over and the topic can begin. So the English summer is here. It's always debatable by summer. I mean, for the last couple of days, it's been like 29, 30 degrees. It's been boiling hot. It's boiling hot now as we do this podcast. And so obviously the main individual movies are going to have to go through a gauntlet of questions, which are, how excited are we for it just by the trailers? How well do we think it will do? Will it be the highest grossing movie of that week? It does apply to some weeks. It doesn't apply to others. Do we think it will break into the top 10 of the highest grossing movie chart, which, bearing in mind, you now officially have to take over at least 250 million just to break into the top 10. And we're going to try and do a prediction on its opening weekend numbers and its total box office takings, if we can get that far. So, first week is... hold on. What's the date today? Borderlands is next week. I do apologise. It's actually released on August 9th, with the Blake Lively movie based on the book. It Ends With Us, Trap, which is M. Night Shyamalan's new movie featuring Josh Hartnett, and Borderlands, which I think I'm not going to say it will suck because I think it won't, but I don't think it'll do well. I think Joseph might be overtaking me come the end of the year because I'm not entirely confident Borderlands will do well. So there we go, gentlemen. That's for August 9th. August 16th, obviously, Alien Romulus. The week after that is The Crow with Bill Skarsgård, FKA Twigs, and Danny Houston. And September 6th, I do actually still say summer because cricket season goes on until end of September. So I included Beetlejuice 2 in it as well. So you've got your movies. You've got your 6 movies that I've quickly shortlisted. So which movies are we excited for? I mean, to be honest with you, I'm excited for all of them, but there's just like Alien Romulus, which is kind of piquing my interest, same as Beetlejuice 2 and Trap as well.
I think Borderlands is not going to do good because I think it's following too closely on the hype of Deadpool Wolverine. I think Deadpool Wolverine is going to overtake the box office until Alien Romulus. I saw the trailer for it. Looks good. I'm excited for it. I'm probably not going to see it because I don't have that much stake in it or care. But I don't see anything for taking Deadpool Wolverine for the next 3 to 4 weeks.
So what about anything else that week? It Ends With Us and Trap. I mean, I'll be honest, and Ends With Us. It Ends With Us will just be another like a Nicholas Sparks movie. I know how it's going to go anyway. If you've read the book, you'll know how it goes. I sort of know how it goes. I've seen a bit of a teaser and read a bit of it, and it's just basically your typical drama romance movie. But I will still watch it because, of course, Blake Lively's in it.
I think those movies will do okay, but nothing significant or memorable. I still think Deadpool Wolverine's going to dominate most of August. Alien Romulus, I predict, is going to take it over, but I still think Deadpool Wolverine's going to be top 2 or 3 until the end of August. Like that movie's going to be running the theaters probably till end of September, and then at that point we'll be gearing up for Joker.
They'll probably end up doing one week, do a Deadpool Ends With Us. So it's like one of you can go and see Ryan Reynolds, the other one can go and see Blake Lively.
Or they might try to stretch it and do a Deadpool triple feature.
That'd be good. Have you actually seen the trailer for Trap?
I don't think so.
Basically, what Trap is about, if nobody knows, Josh Hartnett takes his daughter to a concert, but then he finds out that the concert is actually a police sting designed to trap a serial killer. So literally, the entire concert is basically a fake.
Mm-hmm.
So he finds that out from someone who shouldn't really tell him. So now it's a case of how can he get out of the building without being found out? I have seen the trailer for it. There is some good distraction bits, like putting fizzy bottles of water, fizzy Coke and all that, into a chip fryer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I will say one thing. I did actually read that M. Night Shyamalan wants this to be a bit more reality based, but he did actually quote it as being Silence of the Lambs at a Taylor Swift concert. That's what he actually quoted it as. And
that's interesting, but you lost me at Taylor Swift.
I know you
Sorry.
did. But in fairness, his daughter, Salika, she's actually playing the singer. And I knew he had a daughter, but I didn't know she sang that well.
Interesting.
I think Trap will do quite well. I think it will do better than a lot of M. Night Shyamalan's previous stuff has. But I still don't think it will do as much as, say, Sixth Sense or Signs.
I was going to say poor Shyamalan always goes back to Sixth Sense and Signs.
Yeah. It's like everything. It's like Aliens is always judged. Sorry, the Alien franchise is always judged by Aliens. Terminator is always judged by T2. It's just how it is, unfortunately.
It's just what happens when you drag out franchises for so long. You always compare it back to what set the bar the highest. There's a reason why we're not like, oh yeah, the Dark Knight triumphant isn't as good as the Dark Knight, because Christopher Nolan stopped at the third one.
Yeah, he did.
Like,
So
you know when to leave on a high note.
Let's go on then, Sam. August 9th, 3 movies. What do you think?
Well, I hadn't heard of Trap until about 3 minutes ago when you first mentioned it up. However, it turns out one of the people that I actually follow on Instagram, who well-known like film critic or whatever, he went and saw it yesterday by the seams of things. And I'm looking at the general reviews on Letterboxd, and it actually seems quite good, Trap. So I might actually give it a watch when it's out in cinemas.
Here's a question, since you've got it on Letterboxd. Does it say anything about, something like this is one of Shyamalan's best, or this is Shyamalan back to his best, or something like that?
Not particularly. However, I've not really took much of a gander in the 2 minutes that I've been on to look at it. I know a lot of people are, commenting just completely random things like, it seems like a Travis Scott concert. Not a clue what that's got to do with the film, but I hope if you like Travis Scott, you'll go and see the film just because of that.
It's probably the fact that someone's actually been to a Travis Scott concert and the layout of it is a bit similar. I wonder if M. Night Shyamalan has actually been to a Travis Scott concert and used it as inspiration for how his daughter, who's playing the singer, is going to have everything like. So maybe that's why. But anyway, what do you think about the other two before we go on to Alien Romulus?
What were the other two?
Borderlands and It Ends With Us. I have a feeling Ends With Us you're not going to be really bothered about.
Yeah, I'm not bothered about that in the slightest. But Borderlands, I don't care about it as much because I don't think it's going to do anywhere near good enough to get in the top 10 in the box office.
But then again, this is also the same man who absolutely humiliated Joe for weeks with Madam Web.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to pass Garfield, to be honest.
To be honest with you, as long as it gets in a respectable, then I don't really mind. But don't forget, me and Joe still have the producer to beat. That's the most important thing, because the one thing me and Joe do not want to do is end up owing you 30 quid for something.
Well, apparently Kid Cudi's in Trap.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Random thing.
Wouldn't surprise me as much. So with that release, chaps, who do we think? Well, I'll ask questions. How well do we think they'll do, and which will be higher? Do you think it'll break into the top 10? I'm not going to go with opening weekend numbers because it'll probably be a bit pointless anyway. So, most important question: do we think it'll break into the top 10 of 2024 by taking more than 200 mil? I don't think any of them will, but I would actually put good money on Trap actually being the one that has more than a better chance of doing it.
I actually disagree. I think Borderlands still will do the best out of them.
You think so?
It's funny enough because I actually chose that, and I actually thought, you know what? We've never had a Borderlands movie, but the more it's gone on and the more trailers have been released, the more everyone's kind of like, nah. And I must admit, I am really genuinely kind of worried about how well it's going to do.
It's tough because the video game movie genre has done horribly. The only successful one we've had was Sonic.
Yeah,
we have a Sonic
which is coming out again this year, isn't it?
Yeah, don't forget Detective Pikachu as well.
Yeah, I think it's December.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's up against Move Faster, unfortunately.
And not to mention the fact that
I would have chosen that if I knew that. Dang it.
Yeah, but funny enough, that's what he said at the beginning of this year, ladies and gentlemen, when we literally picked our movies. He was like, damn, I never thought about that. Oh, by the way, Joe, just to rub insult into your very deep wound, guess whose voice in Shadow?
Oh, wait, isn't it Idris Elba?
Nope, that's Knuckles. Sam, watch his face fall to the ground when I tell him who it is. Keanu Reeves.
No.
There we go.
Oh.
There we go.
I'm not allowed to make a change, am I?
No, you're not. And in the words of the late great Murray Walker, not only is Joe out of the Grand Prix, but his heart has sunk to his boots.
Damn it, I've lost hope. I'm done.
I'll tell you what, Sam, to make it a bit more interesting next year and take the pressure off Joe, should we just let everyone else choose his movies for him?
Okay.
I mean, we'll probably be helping him doing that, though.
Yeah, it's a lie. He'll probably do better if we have that. Anyway, right then, chaps. So next one, Alien Romulus. I'll be honest, I did want to pick this, but with a track record of previous Alien movies, I was like, nah, I can't. I just shouldn't really risk it. Trailers I have been impressed by. I've been impressed by... Oh, by the way, did you two see San Diego Comic-Con?
I didn't.
I know Sam might have. They were actually at San Diego Comic-Con and facehuggers were everywhere. And there was actually someone vomiting blood everywhere from actually having basically showing off the film's practical effects. The entire cast was there. I wasn't happy which I'll get into in a bit. But yeah, I think this will do well, but I think the thing is, horror's a bit complicated. I mean, if you look at some of the horror movies that's been released this year, so Imaginary, Abigail, A Quiet Place Day 1 is the only rated R movie like that that's actually been anywhere near the top 10. Everything else has just been rubbish. So I wanted to do well, but given how horror's track record has been, I generally think Alien Romulus won't go higher than Madam Web. And that's me saying this as a Fede Alvarez fan, as a Ridley Scott fan.
No, I actually disagree with you.
Oh, you do? Let's face it, you disagree with me a lot, but the way horror's been, the numbers that horror's got this one, you look on Box Office Mojo and see how many movies that's not in the top 20 are horror. There's a lot.
One in Maxine's down there somewhere. That's
exactly.
Like
so Maxine's down there, Imaginary's down there, Abigail's down there. It's not really been.
Was that one?
Yeah, Night Swim was one as well. Yeah. So as far as this year goes, it's not been good. It's not been kind either for horror.
Yeah, but they've not got the branding of Alien, do they?
Yeah, but that's also the problem.
Alien Covenant took about 240 million.
Yeah,
I can't see this taking less than 100.
But the only thing is, this is also, Sam, this is the first Alien movie released in cinemas post-pandemic. Everything else was done pre-pandemic.
True, but maybe people are over it.
Well, to be honest with you, I do want to watch it, simply because if it was for anyone else directing it, I probably wouldn't bother. If it was Sam Raimi, I'd give it a look. Fede Alvarez is directing it, I'd go and watch it anyway. But I still fear that it won't take more than 100 mil, because that's kind of how horror's been this year, except for A Quiet Place Day 1. So where do we think it's going to come in? Will it crack the top 10? I don't think it will.
No, it won't do that.
No.
There's nothing really else out that week, so... Oof.
Then again, the bar's quite low.
As far as everything else is, yeah. Well, let's face it. Sam, let's face it, Madam Web took over 100 mil, so anything's possible.
Yeah, and that's 21st. So...
Yeah, Civil War is 122.
Still finding ways to dig that knife in, huh?
Yeah. Do bear in mind, Twisters actually only took 122 mil in its first weekend, and then its next weekend, when Deadpool was actually out, it actually grossed another 100 million more worldwide. So
yeah, I mean that's going to be 10th, literally tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Romulus might crack the top 20, but I don't think it'll go any higher than that. Mm-hmm. And that now, Sam, I know you and me are definitely going to disagree on this one. I'm not quite sure how Joe feels, but the remake of The Crow starring Bill Skarsgård. Now, I've actually heard a rumor that the estimated box office projection of this is $10 million. That's it.
Now, that actually doesn't surprise me.
Nobody wants a Crow remake.
I was going to say, not only does nobody want it, but you're dishonoring the legacy of Brandon Lee.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think just for that alone, nobody's going to see it.
We've all seen The Crow, haven't we? I'm assuming we all have.
I haven't.
You haven't? Right.
No.
Right. Put that on your list to watch. It's absolutely brilliant. I know you'll probably differ from what me and Joe say, but it's absolutely brilliant. But
I love it.
This looks to be more actiony, which is not what The Crow is about.
No.
The Crow is more like, I'll use a gaming reference, for instance, Solid Snake. That's basically all it is. It's nothing to do with guns blazing, having you being shot up to death. That's basically The Crow is just about revenge, but being done subtly. And me personally, if The Crow even breaks above Back to Black, which took 50 mil, I'll be shocked. Well, put it this way: if it does get better than figures than Back to Black, at least we can go to the producer and say this one of the shittest remakes in movie history has overtaken your biopic.
Ouch.
So we're just going to say it's not even going to get anywhere. Actually, do you know what? Do we think it's going to get higher than Abigail, which took 40 million?
No.
I think that would be the most important one.
I don't think so.
If it is true to be 10 million projected, I don't think it will. I think it'll be lucky if it takes 20 million.
I think that's fair. Because the Bike Riders had a great cast and that only took 34.
I didn't even know where that was, and they promoted it like hell.
I know, and it only took 34. Who's it got in it? It's got what? Tom Hardy?
Jodie Comer, yeah. And bear in mind, they were Indy 500 end of May just to promote the movie. They were literally on TV for like 4 hours talking about it. It's like, how can this not get anywhere?
It's just ridiculous.
It is, definitely. It might become a cult classic later on in life. I hope it does. So, gentlemen, I think this is the big one of the summer, regardless of everything else. And I know it's not really summer because it's September, but if we go by cricket season, it's still in season. Beetlejuice 2.
I think it's going to do very well. I think it's got... I mean, there's a lot of people are excited to see Michael Keaton back. Definitely cracking over 100 million for sure.
I think this is getting top 10, to be brutally honest with you.
I kind of am thinking along the same lines like Sam is.
Yeah?
I think if it doesn't crack top 10, it will be close. But at the same time, it's a case of it's been a long time since a sequel. Does anyone really want to see a sequel?
No.
General Tager's
also, you can argue the same thing about Top Gun Maverick. No one wanted the sequel. No one asked for a sequel. Everyone thought it wouldn't be good, and it's actually brilliant.
It's tough, though.
I mean, the original Beetlejuice came 10th in its respective year,
which isn't bad. So that's a good omen.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of people have aged since then. There's been a lot more younger faces come into the world since then. I'll tell you what, there is one way we could do this. Since Sam is the youngest of here, and I bet have you even seen Beetlejuice yet?
I have seen Beetlejuice, yeah.
Right, would you go and see the sequel then, since you've seen the original?
I actually would go and see the sequel.
Right, top 10 then. I agree with it.
There we go.
I don't think it'll stay in the top 10, but I think it'll definitely get into the top 10, especially at the current moment we're at.
Well, the next question is, how much do we... I know I wasn't going to ask this, but we might as well since we're here. How much do we think in its first weekend, if it's going to crack the top 10? Bearing in mind, Garfield is 220 at the minute, which, given how summer goes, more than likely it will be end up, 253 million just to crack it? I think it might just crack the top 10, but I think maybe between 300 and 500, but I think 500 is a bit astronomically of a guess.
I think it will take about 90 in its first weekend.
I'm just saying that.
Wow.
But the thing is, majority of the movies have done well in the second week. I mean, Inside Out 2 took 500 mil in its second weekend?
Yeah. Something like that.
It just depends on the word of mouth, though. That's the problem. Because aside from that, I don't really think there's anything on the docket for the next couple of weeks after that. I don't think so, anyway. But I'll tell you something, if it does end up overtaking June Part 2, I'd be very surprised. I would literally phone Tim Burton and say, well fucking done, sir.
I wouldn't rule it out, to be honest. I highly doubt it, but I think... I mean, you got Keaton, you got General Tager. She's one of the most, relevant actresses at the minute.
Tim Burton's back as well. He knows that franchise better than anyone.
He's got to make top 10. Yeah. I think it'll end after its release in about 9th with about 300 mil, 350.
I'm saying between 200 and 500, simply because I think it will crack one of those totals. I just don't know if it's going to be in its first week or second week.
It's also coming out at a time that there's nothing significant out to compete against it. So has that going for it too.
It's always a bit shit this time of year anyway.
Yeah, it's like after July, August, it's like September, October, it's a bit of a lull.
But not this year, because in October we've got Joker Folie à Deux.
Yes, we do.
I think, no offense, but compared to Beetlejuice, I think Joker will literally be, I'll say a week, not a Deadpool and Wolverine weekend, but I don't think it'll be too far from it.
Joker's easily going to crack $1 billion. Easily.
Don't forget as well, this is the first Joker movie post-pandemic as well.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I mean, look at what we had last year. Barbie was, what, 1.5 billion? Super Mario was
I think the other Joker
1.45.
movie came out 2018, 2019.
Mm.
It came
18,
out like,
I think.
yeah, I think it was 18.
But just remember, Joe, we'll always be overshadowed. No matter how good Joker does, we'll be overshadowed by the fact that Sam got a movie to $1 billion first.
It's true. But hey, he's got bragging rights. I can't argue against it.
He does. So out of all that lot, we're saying Beetlejuice will probably do the best. We think The Crow's going to flop hard. Alien Romulus might do well, but me personally, I don't think it will because horror hasn't really had a good year. Sam thinks Borderlands will do better out of the triple movies of the first week, August 9th. I think Trap will do better. What do you think, Joe?
You know what? Yeah, like I kind of like, yeah, you kind of nailed it.
Which one, Trap or Borderlands?
Oh no, Borderlands definitely flopping, like not doing nearly as good. Also because again, look at what's out right now. Nothing's going to overtake it. Probably till Alien.
I don't even think. Well, mind you, there's nothing out this coming week. There's just 2 animated movies coming out, so Deadpool has that market. But the thing is, I think Borderlands and Trap are going to come at a good time, where Deadpool and Wolverine it's probably had its most takings it will take, and everyone will just want a difference. And not to mention the fact that if everyone who's seen it wants to go and do a Ready Player One and see it again for the Easter eggs, they'll probably end up doing it this weekend or the weekend. Oh, mind you, it will be this weekend, yeah. But either way, I know for a fact, I just worry Borderlands ain't going to do very well. And then that'll put me not as high up to the producer as I think it will be. But again, Joe, I think your anime Lord of the Rings movie is not really going to do that well either.
I don't think so.
Because I was excited by a new Lord of the Rings movie, I'll be honest. But when I saw it said anime, I was like, oh.
I didn't know that. I'm like,
I didn't either.
Lord of the Rings, it's going to kill.
But I'll tell you what does our movie expert think? Does he think an anime Lord of the Rings movie will do well?
No.
He raised the mic.
I love it how he just brought the mic up to his mouth and just literally
in a very slow and very dramatic fashion.
Very dramatic as well.
I can't wait till these are being filmed and we put them on YouTube because that was hilarious.
Oh, by the way, Sam, speaking of that, you better think about what voucher you want. Do you want an Xbox voucher? Do you want an Amazon voucher?
It's a very hard question, and I need to put a lot of thought into it, really.
Unfortunately,
I'll get Sam, I think I'll get Sam an airline voucher. Help contribute to his trip to America.
Oh, right, yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
I think air miles might be better for him, mate.
Yeah.
A bit of a discount. I know we're beyond what we wanted, but are we going to do the movie haul, or shall we save it for another week?
I say we save it. And also, I think next time we should do a Deadpool Wolverine review.
Yeah, we were going to do that, weren't we? But then again, we can do it. But then again, we can be a bit more spoiler. We can put more spoilers into it next week.
We could. And I think, next week we can say everything we want to say about it. Because at that point, they'll be out for a week and a half. So
yeah, we'll just put a warning at the start.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So next week, we were going to do the movie haul this week. I did actually say to the boys originally, the 2 Deadpool movies, X-Men Origins Wolverine, The Wolverine, and Logan. Is there any more you want to put onto that, chaps, or shall we just make it a Deadpool and Wolverine movie haul?
Definitely just keep it Deadpool Wolverine.
Well, that's 13 movies to make? 14. Well, yeah, 13 movies. I was thinking 14, but one of them has actually had both of them in it. So, yeah.
You can call it Wolverpool or Deadverine.
I'm going to be a bit of a spoiler here, but I'm just going to say one thing. Who loved the Cavalry? Because I fucking love that part. I was like, yes, good. That's the Wolverine I want from now on.
Quite unneeded, though.
Yeah. Do you know what I loved when he said, "Oh, we'll treat you a lot better than that shit down the street"? I was like, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that was so great.
Oh, I just couldn't stop laughing. But don't you think he's got the intensity for it as well?
Absolutely. That was I'm like, oh, I know Dean's gonna love this.
I love that. I was just like, oh my God, I've died and gone to Wolverine heaven. Although saying that, chaps, Henry Cavill or Daniel Radcliffe?
I want to see Radcliffe. I want to see a few different variants of Deadpool.
Because there has been rumours that, there was rumours that Cable was going to be in this, but there was also rumours that Daniel Radcliffe could be the next Wolverine. I will say one thing for our dear Mr. Potter. He is actually quite jacked compared to what he used to be.
He is. I saw recent pictures, so you never know.
So, I tell you what, we can do I know next week's meant to be miscellaneous, but we can do an after bit for the movie hall. Depends how long time Joe's got us for.
Absolutely.
Right, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll end it there. Hopefully we've not bored you too much as per usual, and Sam's gloating is not getting old. It is for me, but then again, he's earned the right to be a bit gloaty at the minute. For socials, you can find me on Directed by Dean on YouTube. Directed by Dean on Instagram and Directed by Dean on YouTube. A bit of an announcement: I did buy F1 Manager 24 yesterday. I downloaded it yesterday. So if anyone does actually want to watch me play the new game, which is a lot harder than people think it is, I will let you know this time next week. I should have a few up by then, but I just got to explore the game. Oh, by the way, Joe, the one thing I might leave, I'll tell you what, here's a question. Do I leave the making, because you can customize the livery and the actual race outfits, do I leave that to the producer or do I just do it myself?
Have a little bit of fun. Leave it to the producer. Let's see what she does.
It'll be crap. I know it will.
She's going to be so happy with me.
So who wants to go next?
Well, on that note, you can find me on Instagram at Joe J. Barra. As always, if there's anything you particularly liked or if there's anything you want to see us discuss, just let me know. Drop me a message. Would love to get to know all of you.
And if you're trying to find me, you can find me at Sam the Film Critic on TikTok, Instagram, whatever you've got. I'm probably on it as that. But I think probably in the next week I will have a YouTube channel at some point.
Hey,
I'm hoping the video will be finished by then.
All right.
So just before we go, Sam, you have actually reviewed Deadpool and Wolverine. It is on there if anybody hasn't seen it yet but wants to know how good it is. What else is on the docket this week?
Yeah, actually, I haven't got a clue.
Obviously, hold on a minute. Will there be Live and Let Die on there? Because I know you did Diamonds Are Forever the other day.
I think that's, I've kind of been forgetting to do those on a Friday, so I just do them when I remember. Yeah. I will, however, do The Killing by Stanley Kubrick at some point this week.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Any Laurel and Hardy in there, or is that genre gone?
No.
Charming. So with that being said, ladies and gents, we'll see you next week. There will be a movie hall extra part because we haven't done that this week because we were so engrossed in the news we didn't bother with it. So apologies for that. But next week will be a Deadpool and Wolverine movie hall only. Hold on a minute. Let's do our favourite Deadpool quotes, shall we? Because we've all seen the movie. Actually, I'll tell you what, we don't have to do a favourite line. We can just do our favourite bit just to give everyone a taster. So my favourite moment of Deadpool and Wolverine, and I am going into spoiler territory here, the Cavelerine. There is nothing else. I don't care. Although I'll tell you what the producer's favourite part was. At the very end, when a certain Mr. Jackman's shirt rips, she was mesmerised. We're talking like
hard work showed off.
Yeah, we're talking drool coming out of her mouth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Dean, I guess you know what to get her for her birthday.
Not Henry Cavill, I'm afraid.
No.
I was trying to keep it British, but there you go. So, gentlemen, before we go, what were your favourite parts of Deadpool and Wolverine?
We'll go into more discussion next week, but it was definitely seeing Mr. Snipes come back. I did not expect that. I saw that. I cheered. And that whole interaction was hilarious. I laughed so hard. And then seeing Henry Cavill, that was just because it was those two moments were just so unexpected. Like I knew to expect a lot, but yeah, those were my favorite.
So go on then. What's the film critic's favorite part of Deadpool and Wolverine?
Mine was finally seeing Gambit played by Channing Tatum.
Oh yeah,
it's only took about 8 years.
I love all the jokes they made about that.
Yeah, it took its time. It's almost been a decade since a few projects got scrapped.
I'm so glad we got to see that. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. And just remember, some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.